enough to have Nathan, one of Team Quest's competition guys, here to work with me. And a basic dominant position, after I use my elbow destructions and close that distance from that long range through that range of exchanges to the clinch range, is to establish an inside control. And when I say inside control, it means I'm eliminating lines of defense that my opponent has from keeping me from attacking his hips or his body, which is what I need to do if I want to take him down and control him. I eliminated his elbow and his hand, which are things that he can use to control my head and keep me away from him. Okay. I also am eliminating his head, which is something that he can put between us to keep me from attacking him as well. So by pummeling in and establishing that inside position, that dominant position, that underhook, okay, from this position, now I can begin to work and set my opponent up to take him down or punch him and kick him, elbow him, whatever it is you're trying to do from this position. Okay, notice it's important when I'm going to underhook a guy, I don't want it to be a shallow underhook, although sometimes I get stuck here and I can use this shallow underhook. What I really want to do is I want to isolate this part of my opponent's arm. So I want to come all the way up and I want to grab with my palm that front deltoid muscle. And I want to use that as a handle. Once I establish that underhook to the front deltoid, I pull my elbow down and into me. And effectively, I've isolated this part of Nate's arm, and that eliminates some of that torquing that once you get an underhook, some opponents like to try to do. And whizzering and torquing here, now he's taking control of me rather than me having a dominant position and controlling him. So if I use that elbow to my side and control that, isolate this part of Nate's arm, now I can move him around, pull him, and create a situation where I can steer him, maybe steer him to a wall or the fence or the ring ropes, or I can create tension in his body so that he wants to resist and get that arm back. And in that resistance is my technique. Okay, so it's important. Again, another really important thing here is my hips in relation to his hips. I have this underhook and I'm giving him energy, I'm pushing into him, and I'm not controlling this space in front of his hips. He can use that energy against me. He can throw me, he can headlock me from this inside position. So it's important, in Greco, what we call this space here is the danger zone between his feet, where his hips are. As long as I establish that dominant position and I control that danger zone with my hips and my leg, now he can't get his hips through and use his power to throw me or execute any offensive techniques. Okay, so I'm in effect here, chest to chest, my hips, and especially if I'm pushing, my hips inside here. And now I can move them, push them, and control them any way that I want, controlling that danger zone. If I'm pulling, it's a little less important that I control that. I can create more space and pull here because my energy is going away from him. I'm not giving him that energy that he can use against me. So that's one very important point. If you're pushing, you want to be inside between his feet. Control that danger zone. If I'm pulling, it's a little less important. I can pull and set up other techniques. Okay, so you're going to use a combination of pushing and pulling from this dominant position. Once I've closed that range, established that clinch range, I want to fight to hang on to this dominant position, single underhook. Another good dominant position sometimes is the double underhook. Okay, in this double underhook position, and we're going to cover some takedowns from this double underhook position as well. Two places I want to be. I either want to be right up here behind Nate's back of his neck, high, so that he can't bring his arms down and over and lock. See, if I'm here in the middle, he can lock and take some control here and take away some of my dominance. Or if I'm high, I've got him stretched out and I'm controlling him. Again, I'm controlling that danger zone we talked about here. And now from this position, there's a lot of things that I can do. Another good place to put your hands is low, capturing my opponent's hips. And that, so you either want to be low here where I'm capturing his hips, or high here where I'm capturing his upper body and extending him. I don't want to be right in the middle of his back, where he can wrap his arms over and take away some of that control. He could control my hips and throw me then, or twist and throw me down from that middle position. Takedown technique that I like to use and try and set up from this position, and it's important that you realize, depending on what technique I'm trying to set up, my head position in relation to my opponent's head becomes very important. For some techniques, I might want my head over here on the opposite side of my underhook. For the most part, to be dominant and to be effective, I want my head close to my hand on the same side as my underhook. Okay, again, controlling that danger zone. I can't emphasize that enough. Get careless here, and especially if you push in, you're going to get headlocked. You're going to get thrown, and that's never fun. You want to control that danger zone, head on the same side as your underhook. And now I like to block. You can use the wrist, but generally it's pretty easy for your opponent to roll that wrist out. And if he's got a free hand in a fight, generally you're going to be eating leather. So I like to create that wedge and block on the bicep here above the elbow. I've kind of got counter pressure. I'm pushing away on the bicep on this side. I'm pulling down and in with the underhook on that side. And now I can steer my opponent and move him around and create those manipulations for takedowns and attacks. First takedown and attack is a simple duck under. Now I have my option. This guy's probably going to be trying to free that arm so that he can punch me with that hand, or at least free that arm so he can re-pummel and establish some position of his own. So when he starts moving that arm around to try and free it, I'm going to use that energy that he's giving me with that arm to duck under. Okay, so he starts moving that arm around, I'm ducking under. I want to pull, I'm going to pull myself through and duck under here. Okay, now I want to drive my head through his body. As I come around the corner, I'm going to attack his hip. Okay, so I'll move him a little bit here. I duck under, and I'm going to come around the corner, driving my head into him here. Now he's going to get his Christmas goose a little early here, but it's important that I'm not picking up his leg, but I'm picking up his hips. Okay, I want to pick up his center, his hips. So again, duck. I'm going to go elbow deep through and pick up his hips. Here. Again, level change with the knees, not bending at the waist. Okay, it's important. All those little details make a huge difference in the success of your technique. So ducking here, coming right around the corner, head up and in, elbow deep. I want to capture his hip here. Now from here, I'm just exploding. I'm going to pull with this hand and rotate him to his shoulder and back. So I duck here, and I will put him right on the floor. Now obviously, he's my partner. I don't want to slam him. I don't want to drop him on the point of his shoulder and hurt him, but you can see in a fight situation that you can be pretty devastating from this duck under and body lock position. So again, ducking, hands coming around, elbow deep, pulling and twisting as I lift. And I come out in a nice, dominant, cross-side position once we hit the ground. It's important as I duck, I can keep my head up and into my opponent. So I'm here, he's trying to clear that hand, he's creating that space for my head. Step, elbow deep. Kind of by the numbers and stopping in position to emphasize the different positions, but in real time when you execute this technique, it would be all one motion. It's very explosive and dynamic. It would look something like this. Nate's trying to hit me with that hand. Another option from this underhook dominant position for a duck under, instead of ducking the far side, is to duck this near side. Again, I have control over this side of his body. I'm isolating that arm. I can easily raise my elbow and create space for my head on this near side. And then I would finish, once I execute that duck under to the near side, I would finish the same way. Okay. So again, maybe I'm going to pull and create that space. I got a level change. Again, I don't want to bend at the waist. I want to bend at the knees. Level change, rotate my head through that hole I created. Come right up, my head again, driving up and into my opponent. I don't want to go around him so much as go through him. Free hand, the underhook hand is going to free and come right up the back. Rather than be on his waist this time like we were for the other duck under, this hand is going to come out up here on the shoulder. Still going to use this to pull and create that rotation, that torque. I'm still going to capture his hip, just like we did before, not his leg. Okay, so I'm capturing that hip. Again, ducking under the near side of the body. Here. Pretty simple but effective technique. Another one of my favorite techniques from this dominant position, this single underhook, is a slide by. And in a real situation against a real resisting opponent, what's going to happen a lot of times is, again, I'm using this dominant position, controlling that danger zone, and creating tension in my opponent. I'm going to jack my underhook up and lean him over. Most people, when you push into them, their tendency is to push back. I'm predicting that by pushing into Nate, he's going to want to straighten up and push back. I'm counting on that, and I'm going to use that little prediction to execute this technique. Now, in this technique, I want to take my head across away from my underhook, because it's hard for me to slide by with my head clear over here. I got to get through his skull to slide by and achieve the position that I want. So I'll cheat a little and I'll let my head come across to the opposite side of his body. And as I steer him up, I think of this as a big steering wheel. I'm going to steer him one way. Now as I feel him resist and start to steer himself back into a more upright position, I'm going to release that pressure. And see how he kind of overcompensates. I'm creating tension. He's trying to steer himself back up. I'm releasing that pressure. Okay, now I'm going to time my slide by with that little release of pressure. So I'm steering him one way. As I feel that tension build and he doesn't want to go that way, I'm going to change levels. My head's going to slide right past his arm. Okay, where I have my arm in the pit of his elbow, I'm going to replace my ear. Put my ear right where my hand is, right here. So I'm here, release that tension, and there's that squat, that level change, head up, hips in, and I'm attacking. My underhook hand is going to drop right to that far knee. Okay, from this position, I'm going to drive my head through his hips, through his body. I don't want to drive him straight back this way. If I drive him straight back, it's going to be really easy for him to fall to his butt and pull guard, and I don't want him to do that. If I drive laterally through his body, we as humans suck at lateral motion. When I drive laterally through his body, I can straighten this hand and arm out and avoid his legs, hopefully, and keep him from pulling guard. So again, steering him one way, release, level change, attack, and now I'm going to continue to drive through him, straightening out that bottom arm, driving my shoulder into his stomach, and coming out in a cross-side position. Steering him one way, head slides over, release that pressure. Release, level change, lateral, through his body. Straightening that arm and hand out so he can't pull that leg under and achieve guard. And then I work right up to good cross-side position. Okay. So in real time, it would look something like this. It's a good slide by. The nice thing about that slide by is you can use it when you've got a guy trapped against a wall or a cage or the ropes. So he's got his back against something solid. It's nice to steer him and slide by. Or you can do it right in the center of the ring. It doesn't matter. You can set it up in either place. Another nice, simple technique. And again, I emphasize simple in that if I miss the technique, if I don't get the technique, I'm not in a lot of danger. If I take a shot on somebody and I'm here and I screw the shot up, I'm underneath him. I'm carrying his weight. He can choke me. He can knee me. He can do a lot of things to me there. Where these are lower risk techniques in that if I miss my slide by and I don't get it, I'm really not in any danger. If I miss my duck under and he turns and faces me, I'm really not in any danger. I just missed the technique. I continue to fight and stay in a more neutral position. Low risk. It's really, really important. One thing I like to try to set up from this position, especially if we're in here tight and we're fighting for position, I'm looking for this lead leg. It's a simple foot sweep. And again, low risk is the key here. I'm pulling and circling my opponent. See how he moves his feet. Pull one way, he steps. Pull the other way, he steps. Again, that's something I can predict. That's where the art comes in this. I can predict and manipulate my opponent, make him step where I want him to step, make him move how I want him to move, or react how I want him to react. So I'm using my underhook, and I want him to step with that leg. In order to get him to step with that leg towards me, I need to move away from that leg, circle away. So as I circle away, here comes that leg. He steps to stay and keep me in front of him. As I see that leg move and come up, I'm just going to take my foot, the instep of my foot, and catch him right at the ankle. Okay? Pull, he steps, and there's my foot sweep. Very simple. Again, if I miss the technique, what have I lost? Not a whole lot. Still have good position. The worst thing that's going to happen is I'm going to kick him in the leg. Okay? So it's a good low risk attempt. You might get it, you might not. If you get the timing down, again, there's some timing involved in picking up this foot as it comes forward. Okay? Pull. There's that foot right there. I'm pulling on that underhook, manipulating him, making him step. Pull. There's that foot. Pull, making him step. I'm looking for that foot as it comes around. Sweep. The idea is to catch that foot before he plants it on the ground again. Obviously, if he's got his weight on it, all I'm going to do is kick him in the leg. So as it moves from back there to up here, I want to catch it. And he goes down. Pretty simple foot sweep. Get that timing, pulling on that underhook. Okay, so a real simple foot sweep. A nice technique that I like to use from this dominant position is simply a high single leg. And all I'm going to do is, again, I want to make Nathan step towards me. So I want to circle away from that leg that I want to attack so that he has to step towards me. I'm just going to do a simple level change. I'm going to shrug this shoulder up over my head, almost like it's a shot put. I'm going to shot put that shoulder up. My blocking hand here is going to reach for the inside of Nathan's leg, and I'm going to change levels and squat to this position. What I want to do again is I don't want to pick up his leg. I want to pick up his hips. So I should let my lock slide right up into his groin, right up into his crotch, so that I'm picking up this near hip. So I'm moving him here. Again, heads up, hips are in, good, powerful, athletic position. Locked here. Once I get this locked, it doesn't matter what Nathan does. He can turn his hips and try and face me, okay, and resist. All I'm gonna do is lift. My head's gonna drive into his chest. My back leg here is gonna cut the back of his thigh. And that counter pressure of my leg cutting back here and my head pushing here is gonna topple Nathan over backwards. So I'm here. Okay, I lift and shrug him backwards here. This leg coming into the back of his thighs, my ear, my head into his chest. Okay, again, really nice technique when you've got a guy trapped against the wall. I've got him trapped there. It's easy for me to adjust down and capture that near hip, that near single, high single leg. Here. Pop, lift. Take him right to the mat. Again, coming out in a good cross-side position, avoiding that guard or the necessity of passing that guard if I have to. I'm going to make him step, level change, here. Lift, okay. Drive the head, bring the knee. Now in real time, it would look something like this. Actually, the more your partner or opponent resists, the easier it is to execute that technique. Another nice technique here is an inside trip. Now the inside trip is a little more of a commitment. I mean, if I commit to this technique, it's not as low risk is what I'm trying to say. I end up in this position a lot of times where Nate's got an underhook and I've got an underhook, okay, and I want to set him up to inside trip him. Again, same pretense. I want to trip this leg, so I want to circle away so he steps with that leg. Okay, you can see him step. So we're here and we're in the over-under. I don't have to see it with my eyes, I can feel it. I can kind of see it out of my peripheral vision. I know if I move this way and pull on his back, he's going to step with that leg. Okay, again, it's important. My head becomes real important here. As I inside trip, I want to take my head towards my foot. If I don't, if I just step here, he's just going to pick his leg up and step out. I haven't achieved anything. Now if I really commit to this inside trip, boom, and he just steps out, step out. Now I'm in trouble. I've put myself in a position, okay? So your head becomes very important. As I make him step and I commit to that inside trip, I got to take my head towards my foot. Another thing I like to think about is I'm going to make a triangle with my thigh, lower leg, and this underhook hand. So as I step, I make that triangle right here. And I'm just sagging my weight through Nate's hip. He can't move this foot to step back and keep his balance. He goes right to his back. Here. Now, a little different here is that we end up in the guard position. So now I've got to concentrate on how I'm going to pass Nate's guard. But again, an effective technique. Circle away, he steps. Take down with an inside trip. Okay. Circle away, he steps. Inside trip. Okay. This again is another nice technique that you can use when you've got a guy trapped against a fence or a solid barrier. It's easy for me to step in here and take that leg out and create that space for him to fall into. The inside trip is real nice. Technique again from this dominant position, and we're just going to rattle off techniques because there's so many options. There's so many things that you can do from here, and you got to figure out which ones you like, which ones fit your style and your body type. But another nice technique from this position is a knee block. Okay, and what I'm going to do from the knee block, unlike the last couple that we've covered, where I was manipulating him to step with his near leg, here, I want to make him step with his far leg, the leg that's away from my control point here. So I'm going to circle away from that leg. See how he stepped? He's going to react to your motion. He's going to react to keep you in front of him. So as we're fighting here, I'm stepping away, making him step with this leg. All I'm going to do, again, I don't want to keep my head over here close to my underhook because I'm attacking this side of his body, a lot like I did on the slide by. I want to let my head float over here, closer to the point where I'm attacking. I'm going to take advantage of my opponent's lack of lateral motion again. All right, make him step, level change, and I want to block him right at the knee. I'm going to run my hand through his chest, and I want to drive him back this way. Again, I want to drive him laterally. He's going to fall easier, he's going to go down and have a lot less options. Plus, I'm going to be able to hopefully avoid his guard if I drive him laterally, okay? So I make him step, drive him laterally. And you'll notice, as we come down, I draw an imaginary line between him and me. I don't want to get tangled up in his legs. I don't want to come down on his knee. Okay, so I draw an imaginary line between us. As I knee block and run him over, I'm going to stay on my side of the line, and he's going to stay on his side of the line. I'm running him laterally through that block, and I slide right in to my hip, right into that cross-side position again, here or here. Okay. Now it might take me 3 or 4 or 5 steps to knock him over, to run through him. He's not just going to fall right in place. That's okay. It's explosive. Making him step and then driving through him. Okay. Again, in real time, you're here, you're fighting, you've got your dominant position. You make him step, level change, and drive him over that knee block. Okay, pretty simple. Again, low risk technique. If I miss it, I know right here if I'm going to get it. I know right here if he's going down. So if I've missed it, he steps out, I'm still in no danger. Low risk. Okay. The inside trip, being in this body lock position. Okay, the inside trip is a good option from that body lock position. Another option from the body lock position, where he's got the same thing I have. Okay, he's got an underhook, I've got an underhook. We both got our hands locked, we're both in this position. It's a 50-50 deal. If he knows anything and he executes first, he's going to score. He's going to take me down. He's going to knee me, punch me, whatever the case may be. It's a 50-50 position. Okay, so I don't want to hang out here. I don't want to spend a lot of time in a 50-50 proposition. I want to either change my head and establish a good dominant position where I have control, okay, or get about executing some technique from here. An inside trip. Okay, in this case, what I'm going to do is capture his hips and just body lock him, bear hug him to the mat. What I'm doing is, again, I don't want my lock up here on his back. I need to capture his power, which is his hips. So I'm going to step and suck his hips into my hips. As I do, I'm blocking. His foot's coming around. I'm digging my knee into the back of his knee. Okay, you can see how off balance he is already. I'm basically pushing his hips and upper body over his knee. Okay, but I'm using my legs and hips to do it. So we're here, 50-50 proposition. I'm going to suck his hips in, block that knee, and now as he starts to fall, I'm rotating my back leg around and replacing my initial knee that blocked his leg. I'm going here, here. Again, we come down right in that good cross-side position. So it would look something like this. More about establishing position and executing technique before he has a chance to execute technique from that 50-50 position. Okay, it's real important. Another thing I can do from this body lock position, and one that I kind of like, again, it takes some timing, and again, reading my opponent's hips and feeling where he's at from this over-under position, is just a simple twist or off balance. What I want to do is, I feel his underhook. I'm going to lace my hand over his elbow and under by his tricep. And now I'm going to pull with my underhook here, and I'm going to push on his side with my wrapped or weaved hand. And if I do that, you can see how his shoulder moves towards his ear. Boom. I'm off balancing his upper body. Now I'm going to coordinate that little twist or off balance with a step and my hips. Again, your power comes from your hips. In order to do this, I'm going to have to use my power or my hips to move his body weight around that corner. Now, I don't want to, and a real common thing to do here is to just switch your feet. That's not what I really want to do. That doesn't get my hips or my power into his power. So I start in here with my left foot or my underhook hand forward. When I go, I'm stepping forward, penetrating his danger zone there with my back leg. Okay? So I'm here, I'm weaved, I'm stepping. You see how my hips come up underneath his hips. Here. And now I'm going to twist, basically steering him or rotating him around that 180 degrees. Okay. Here, the other side, same thing. Okay. Pulling here, pushing here, twisting with the hips. Again, some timing and resistance. Okay, the guy's feet will come right off the floor. If you explode and pop with this, he'll twist and rotate right to his back. All right, so stepping. Okay, so we're here, we're pushing, we're pulling, we're fighting in this position. Same thing I can do from a double underhook position. Okay, again, locking high. Same rules apply. I got to use my hips, my power, if I'm going to twist him from that double underhook position. From here, I'm controlling with my hips, and now I can rotate a long ways this way, pivoting on my toes, a lot faster than he can move his feet and keep his balance. Okay, from here, I step, I've loaded him on my hips, and now I'm going to twist back that way. Okay, so whether you do it from a single underhook, where you're stepping and twisting, or from the double underhook, where you're stepping and twisting, the technique with your hips and the step and the basic technique is basically the same. You do it from the single underhook dominant position or from the double underhook dominant position. Okay. Here. Same thing is true of the inside trip. In this double underhook position, all I need to do is circle away here. And I can inside trip from that double underhook dominant position. Pretty low risk. The only thing I don't like about it is I come down in his guard. I still have to pass his guard. But it can still be an effective takedown, especially against a guy you're having trouble manipulating. You're having trouble controlling. I get him here, and I don't want to let him go from here. I want to make him fight from here. Steps. Inside trip from the double underhook position. Okay. There's a lot of techniques, a lot of takedowns right there in that little sequence of events. all off of this nice dominant position, or this nice dominant position. But now the next time you achieve clinch range and you close that distance, you know there's a lot more to it if you establish this inside control and you manipulate your opponent. You control the danger zone, you make him move, you make him step one way or the other. You got 7 or 8 different options for takedowns for knocking your opponent down. And that's not even getting into the opportunities you have to strike him from this position. But that's a whole nother tape.